Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're gonna take a look at another most likely rank 1 in the world team. I'm not sure, my Japanese is not as great, but you see it on the screen right now. I stole it from those players here. I have no idea really what they're talking about. There's a 1 on the thumbnail, so I think it's a rank 1 in the world team. I'm most likely not going to advertise with it because I can't verify it, but this team was amazing. I went on an 18-game win streak with this team. But I decided to not show all of those battles today here. I only cut out winning games and I tried to focus on mainly lost leads or interesting leads for this team here to showcase that. And also, here you're going to see a different kind of moveset on my Cragsire for the first game because I used the wrong one. The one on the right side is the one that I'm going to use for the different upcoming matchups basically. But yeah, I didn't want to do a 30-minute video at the end of the season because this team might not even work anymore for the upcoming season, which we don't really know about. But still, I went on an 18-game win streak with it, which is by far my highest win streak for the season. I sadly only have a 17 win streak actually in my record there, because I did play the video that you saw yesterday in between, which was the what's called the Spin the Wheel Challenge. So here we're going to now see the team, and let's talk a little bit more about how this team kind of functions, and also appreciate the stonage of Clodsire real quick here. Bye bye. Basically, you kind of want to use as a safe swap here, in my opinion, the Cragsire. Cragsire is a better safe swap in my opinion. Here you also see the one that I'm actually using is going to be the Awkward Tail Shadow variant, which the IVs are also on the right side. I'm going to be able to now do a ton of damage just as a safe swap with the Cragsire, and I have to say, I really love Awkward Tail on Cragsire. This move just gives you so fast damage. Also, Earthquake is really cool as well, because nobody expects like an Earthquake there in the back, because it's like a rare move to be seen on a Cragsire. So yeah, honestly, I love this team quite a bit. It was a lot of fun to play, and I can highly recommend you to try it out. I actually did some coaching as well with this team, and I have to say, what lead you encounter actually matters quite a bit. When I now looked through the gameplay and tried to basically get rid of all the leads that are very positive for my Pokemon here, for my Dragonite, so we see like more difficult matchups for this team. I have to say that I won, I think, around like 70 to 80% of my leads with the Dragonite, which makes a huge difference, which allowed me for sure to win way more matchups than I should have done. Here, by the way, again, Stone Edge, Clodsire, literally MVP here. What the hell is it doing? But for the one that I coached, they encountered, I think, 3 times in a row a Fairy type lead, and then it's going to be a little bit tricky to come back from it. So yeah, let's move on to the next game. We're going to encounter normal type Pokemon, which is going to be fine, but they're going to have access to the move Rock Slide, which you're going to be able to catch on our Quagsire. So this does basically no damage as the opponent decides to swap out into their Golbat. I'm going to try to bait a potential Stone Edge, but as you can see, I'm going to use a shield against the Shadow Ball, which was really decent for me, and I can still go for the Awkward Tail spam, which most likely going to allow me to realign or at least get a shield back here from the opponent, which is going to be amazing. So even though we don't have the Stone Edge, it still doesn't really matter too much because it can still reach another Awkward Tail, and Cragsire is just too spammy for the opponent, allowing us to get both of the shields and still force the opponent to throw in Poison Fang here, which is going to be really good for us. We can swap into our Dragonite, go for the Dragon Claw, knock them out, and we can realign. But of course, the opponents still also align their Dunsparce, which is going to be okay for us because they can catch the move onto a Clodsire again. So 2 times Rock Slide going completely to waste, and they're going to run the Lantern in the back, which happened quite often. And honestly, this team is amazing against Lantern, which is really cool to see because Lantern is a very common Pokemon. And it worked out super well for me, as I can just go for 1 Earthquake. They're going to be in farm down range for even my Clodsire here, so I can just go for the Mud Shot down. I can still survive a Surf, which is also kind of wild. So like Clodsire was honestly the MVP of this team, but I can still just go for 1 Earthquake here, knock them out, and I think this is going to be already a good game for this one, and we can move on into the next game. Definitely a very strong Pokemon there. Clodsire is so underrated. Let's take a look at the next opponent. We're going to encounter Shadow Galvantula. This is not per se like a bad one for us, but it's not going to be the best one either. We can just go ahead and go for an Awkward Tail, which is fine for us, which is going to do a ton of damage against the opponent, and we can still take a move here because this should not be the Energy Ball, just the Lunge, and the opponent decides to swap out into the Medicham, and here's basically where I usually would go for an Earthquake, but sadly I'm barely missing out, and we are not in a decent spot because the opponent has so much energy now on their Medicham that it's going to be a little bit tricky for a Dragonite to really retaliate here, as they're going to have the double super effective Ice Punch, which is honestly the main reason why Medicham is so strong. If Ice Punch gets like nerfed to like 50 energy even, this Pokemon is going to be so much weaker, which is kind of wild, which I hope which is going to happen there. But as you can see here, we can go for the full farm down against the opponent. The opponent gonna swap out into the Golbat, and we can just go for the Dragon Claws here. Dragon Claws going to go through here and going to do some decent damage. We can swap out onto the Poisoned Fang into our Clodsire, and of course we're going to have Stone Edge here, which means we also have a super effective move against the opponent, which might come in clutch later on. You see me overfarming here a little bit because I expected that the opponent would go straight for the Shadow Ball, which they didn't. So I can actually get the shield from the opponent as well. They now go for the Shadow Ball. I should be able to outspeed them to the next move here as well, which I do because you need always 2 fast moves after the Shadow Ball, no matter how much energy you have. And so I'm going to be able to align my Pokemon correctly. They still have the Galvantula, but Clodsire with Stone Edge is just so overpowered. It is madness. This Pokemon is so strong, and we can just win this game here. And as you can see, the game is just frozen. I don't know why it happened. I still got the window for it, but we can just move on into the next game. Well, let's take a look at the next opponent. We're going to have here the Clodsire against us in the lead, which is going to be a tricky one. Going to have access to Moonblast as well as the Grass Knot, going to one-shot both my lead as well as my Say Swap, forcing me to stay in with my Dragonite. But honestly, what I was a little bit surprised about is how much damage Dragon Breath actually does here against the Clodsire. Like, honestly, look at the damage output there. We're going to get out the Nidoqueen, which is amazing, as we can just retaliate with our Quagsire, which can just go for the Awkward Tail spam. Gonna get them low. And I'm actually going to use a shield here, I think, as well, which is maybe not the smartest idea, but maybe it works out in the end, as the opponent decides to swap out for whatever reason into the Umbreon. I expected that they would go into the Clodsire going for a Grass Knot, but like this, I'm going to be able to just spam them with the Awkward Tails, and this is going to be very cool for me, as the opponent is going to go for another foul play. We can just go for more Awkward Tails. We're just going to try to get them low, maybe even get a shield from the opponent, which would be nice, because they're still having 2 shields there, and I think they kind of want to shield something up eventually. But we're gonna see here the first shield coming up. I can still try to go for another Awkward Tail. They can knock me out. But now I can just go into the Clodsire. And they should not really have anything to hit me here, right? Like, Last Resort doesn't do damage. Foul Play doesn't do damage. So let's take a look at this one. They are running Psychic for whatever reason. I was like, no, why did he do that? I can still at least reach the Dragon Claw in time, which is going to allow me to get the final shield from the opponent against the opponent's Clodsire. And I think I might have to Mud Shot down the Clodsire here. Gonna be an interesting one. Can we still do this, or am I gonna go for a charge move? I'm just gonna go for the charge move, and honestly, I did not expect that I was in such a good position at this point, but honestly, I just can go for one Earthquake, and I think that's basically it. I think that's going to just one-shot the opponent's Umbreon, and so that's going to be it for this game, and let's move on into the next one. Next game coming up, we're going to have a horrible lead for us, which is going to be the Steelix. And this is exactly kind of what we want to see here for today's video. I kind of want to have those really bad matchups. As the opponent going to have the Victory Bell, try to bait a potential Mud Bomb, and so the opponent decides to use a shield against me, even though they completely wall me. So I can go into my Dragonite, and I'm going to go for the full farm down here, and I'm going to let this next move go through. It's going to be a Grass type move, which is going to be double resisted, so we can still take this one, and we can still go for a Superpower against a potential Steelix coming back in. But let's see what they're going to actually do here. They're going to go into the Steelix, allowing me to go for the Superpower, do a ton of damage, or get the final shield from the opponent. It's going to do a ton of damage. I can swap out into the Clodsire, and they're going to go into the Medicham, which is still going to be a very close matchup, as they have super effective moves against me. Or they just decide to forfeit for whatever reason. Don't know why, but I take this one. Next opponent, we're going to have Medicham in the lead here. Again, I couldn't actually cut off all the good leads for me, because I just had so many good leads. Like, it was literally everything that I encountered was like something like a Medicham, something like a normal type Pokemon. And here also my opponent catches a move perfectly and just still uses a shield with a Sandslash, which was like kind of sad, of course, for them. But good for me, as I'm now going to be able to just go for the Earthquake, which definitely going to knock them out. I don't think a Mud Bomb would have actually knocked them out from this range, but I'm not sure. But this Earthquake definitely going to completely annihilate them, allowing me to also go for some damage against the Medicham. I just have to go for the Awkward Tail, but they actually decide to just go for a charge move immediately. Ice Punch coming through, not going to get the knockout, but they can go for the full farm down, forcing me to still go for a charge move here with my Dragonite, but at least have some energy stored already. And so the opponent decides to use a shield. They still can get to their own charge move, but I should be able to even reach a Superpower in time against whatever they have in the back. It's going to be a Jellicent. And luckily I was using the shield here, because like this, I'm going to put them into range for just one Earthquake, and I kind of needed to do this because otherwise the opponent going to be a little bit too strong for me. The Jellicent has access to the Stab Surf, doing a ton of damage, and they can still even reach another one, which might turn out to be a little bit tricky for me because they're already so low. I can go for the Earthquake, and I think this is actually game already. So yeah, that's going to be it for this one, and let's move on to the next one. we're going to encounter a Gligar in the lead. This is kind of what you want to see, but also this is why you kind of have the Awkward Tail on your Quagsire and why it's so important to have Awkward Tail on the Quagsire. The opponent decides to swap out into the Lantern, and you see me here swapping into the Clodsire. Clodsire is not the best matchup, but you also saw me staying in for a little bit. Why did I do this? Because Earthquake is just barely doing enough damage after that amount of damage from the Dragon Breath, otherwise it would not knock them out, but also because I kind of wanted to get some energy first on my Dragonite as well. But yeah, again, we're going to have a fairly decent matchup later on against the Gligar, and I don't want to have the Clodsire really aligned against the Gligar. Maybe this shield was a mistake. I can say that here as well. Maybe the shield was a mistake. I just want to get the knockout. But luckily, the opponent decides to just use a shield here anyway and can go for the Stone Edge, which the opponent catches on a Gligar, which I'm fine with. It's going to be neutral. And so we can go ahead and go for a Dragon Claw against the opponent. We're going to be able to knock out the Gligar already, which I did not expect, and they're going to have a Carbink lurking in the back, allowing me to still go for a neutral superpower, doing a ton of damage against them. And so now it's time for the Quagsire. Gonna go to town here, gonna do a ton of damage with the Awkward Tail plus Mud Shot. But let's see here, the opponent gonna go ahead and mostly go for the Moonburst, which is fine. I can overform by quite a bit, and I can just go for the Awkward Tail, but they catch it onto the Lantern, which was a smart idea from the opponent. I can still swap out and catch their move now onto my Clodsire. So if they can catch, I can catch, and I can also just go up for a little bit more extra energy, go for my Awkward Tail. Gonna get not the knockout yet, but one more force move is all it takes, and now this Earthquake gonna annihilate the opponent's Carbink, and so we can move on into the next game. Let's take a look at the next opponent. We're going to have another more of a neutral lead here, which is going to be okay for us because we can just swap out into our Quagsire, and we have kind of an ABB style line, yeah, exactly, because we're going to have those double ground Pokemon in the back, so we kind of want to get the answer out of this. And here we're going to get out the opponent's Gligar, and they have to take some Awkward Tails, and I'm really happy about this because as we can see here, we're going to get the shield, and I even get to another charge move here, forcing the opponent to even use another shield, getting 2 shields from the opponent, and I can let this move go through if I want to, and I will do that. So I can now swap into my Dragonite. I can even farm them down if I want to, but I can also go for a charge move. Let's see what we're actually going to do. I'm gonna use a shield, of course, against the opponent's Aerial Ace, and I'm just gonna get the knockout so I can keep my shield advantage, which I feel like is a little bit more important. We're gonna get out the Lantern again. We're gonna put them already into range with just 1 Earthquake of our Clodsire, allowing us to now take also the Surf from the opponent. I don't really want to use a shield on my Clodsire, and they're staying in for whatever reason, allowing me to just get this Earthquake off and get the knockout here, as they're going to have a Charizard in the back, and this is exactly why we have Stone Edge. Goodbye, Shadow Charizard. Clodsire is just sweeping every game here so far. Moving on, the next opponent, we're going to have a Mandibuzz in the lead. This is going to be okay for us as well, as we can just stay in for a little bit. And honestly, I kind of want to swap out eventually at least, but I'm going to use a shield here, and they're going to go for the Aerial Ace. I'm not too happy about it, but I can go for a Dragon Claw. And so I think they're going to need one more force move to get to another charge move. So I wanted to swap out in time, but they decided to swap out into their own Deoxys, which I'm kind of happy about because I can just go ahead and swap out later on, hopefully, into my Quagsire. Is this a what's called Thunderbolt? It is a Thunderbolt, and so we were able to catch a very high energy move here onto our Quagsire, allowing us to go for 3 Awkward here in order to knock out the opponent's Deoxys. They go back into their Mandibuzz, but I can still just reach those Awkward Tails easily, which is going to do a ton of damage here against the opponent. Or we're gonna get the shield, which is even better in my opinion. Like, shielding an Awkward Tail is always great if you have a Pokemon like Clodsire in the back that is running 2 nuke moves. So here we're gonna still get to another Awkward here, and they are very low with their Pokemon, and they're gonna swap out now into their Sandslash. So for me, I feel like my best bet is here to hope that my Dragonite can go for a superpower, but maybe this was not the ideal play. Let's see, we can still go for an Earthquake here. Earthquake is coming through, gonna get the shield from the opponent, not the knockout at all. I'm forced to use a shield here, I feel like, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna decide to go still for an Earthquake here, and now I'm going to be forced to use a shield because this is going to knock me out otherwise, but I want to knock out them, and this is going to knock out them. So it's still going to be a little bit of a trickier one. We can swap out into our Dragonite, we can still get some damage onto them, but they still have like 1 HP left. Can we actually Mudshot them down though? This is the question here. We can go for 1 Mudshot, it is not enough. Can the Clodsire knock them out? The Clodsire can knock them out with 1 HP left. And we can move on into the second to last game here, which is going to be a great lead actually for us, which is going to be the Trevenant. But I misplay this, I think. No, never mind, I don't misplay this. I'm just going to go straight for the charge move, which is the correct play to go for. The opponent going to decide to use a shield, which is fine for me. I can use my shield as well. They're going to go for the bait, all good. They're going to go into the Gligar. I'm going to try to swap out onto the charge move, which does not work out. Maybe should have went for my own charge move in order to put them into range for Awkward Tail, but I guess it is still fine here. They're gonna go for most likely the dig, as they do exactly this, and I think I cannot outspeed them. I lose CMP, which is actually kind of important because I did not really know this, and as you can see, they have Night Slash. Never mind, I can still go for a charge move. That's wild. I thought they would have Aerial Ace, but no, they're running Night Slash here, and so I can still go into my Dragonite. I can try to go for the full farm down, but I did not think that they would still get to another charge move here, and they're gonna get the attack buff. Maybe it's gonna come in clutch for them as well, as they're going to have a Diogong lurking in the back. I can still go for a superpower, but I cannot like swap out here anymore. So I'm forced to go for a Stone Edge here, but I'm not going to be able to reach this one in time. And so the opponent is going to be able to just go for all the charge moves here. I can go for my own, what's called my own Stone Edge. And honestly, maybe it did matter, maybe it didn't, who knows. But sadly, this is going to be the one that ended my 18-game win streak, which is fine. But yeah, close one again. Final game, going to be the 20th game that I played with this team. We're going to have the Charizard swapping in here, and I'm deciding to swap out onto the charge move again into our Quagsire. Here's the issue with this matchup. The opponent Charizard gets to the exact same, to the next move at the exact same time as Awkward Tail, because Dragon Claw is 5 and then 4 fast moves. But we would outspeed them afterwards, so if they want to shield, they have to shield twice in order to realign, which they don't do. And so, oh no, wait, never mind, which they did do here, which allows us to now go for another charge move. Let's see if they're going to shield this one. They're going to shield this one as well. But I should have a move start with my Dragonite, I think. So I'm gonna, oh no, I'm one way, that's so annoying, man. But they're gonna have a ton of energy here, so I'm still forced to go for a charge move. I'm gonna get the knockout now, but I'm still going to have a shield advantage, which is kinda okay for me. The opponent gonna reveal, of course, that they still have the Frosters there, and they're gonna completely hardwall me, honestly. Could have not been worse at all here, as the opponent gonna have, of course, the Quagsire, gonna go up against our Clodsire. I'm going to be trying to get to another charge move here later on as well. Trying to maybe even go for a Stone Edge later against the Frosters, but the opponent goes for their own charge move. It's going to be the Awkward Tail. I can still survive it. I can still go for my Earthquake here, but I have to hope that I can somehow still win with my Dragonite. Can we still win here? We will find out shortly. They can farm me all the way down. I don't do too much damage, and I'm gonna still be able to reach another charge move. Is this enough to knock them out? It is not, and we tie the final game, and this is going to be it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to leave a like, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.